All right, welcome everybody to episode 3 of Next Possession Sports Podcast. How's it going, Kamal?
Hey man, I'm blessed, man. Good. How you?
Man, it's been a heavy week, but it's good to be able to just kind of take a step aside and talk about something different for a change, while obviously not forgetting what's been going on.
Very true. Very true.
We'll get to some of that a little bit later on in the episode. But we're here. Our first 2 podcasts. We talked about the North Division for both the NFC and the AFC, and we're now here to swing it on down south, starting with the AFC South, and to talk about the offseason transactions from the teams in that division, and we'll get started with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jags, Duval,
Minshew and crew.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I want to say overall, this division had a very peculiar offseason collectively. I have no idea where the Jags are going as an organization. It's kind of like every year you think it's what's that coach's name? Doug Marrone. Every year you think it's Doug Marrone last year. And he's like, one more year. And it's like, all right, maybe you can figure out this year. But every year it's like the talent on his team, I don't want to say goes down, but it gets younger, therefore gets experience.
Well, the talent on his team has definitely gone down.
Yeah. That was from last year to this year, not so much.
Yeah, correct. Like I said, from previous year, but this year is definitely taking a over the past 2 years, definitely taking a step backwards from all that talent that he had, especially on that defensive side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so their draft was okay. They got C.J. Henderson, who was one of the better corners in their draft. He does have issue tackling, but as far as coverage skills, he's there. Clavon Chaseon, I like this pick.
That's a great pick, man.
It is, especially where they got him at. And, he fly off the edge. He seems like he has a very high ceiling. I like that one. This Laviska Shenault, I don't know. There was a lot of mocks him going to the Eagles. I don't want that to happen. But he's an athlete. I just question, at the next level, his route running ability, how they're going to use him exactly. Because he kind of did it all. He was playing wildcat quarterback. He got him in slot, got him run routes, running back. So it's interesting. In my under the radar pick is Colin Johnson. 6'6" wide receiver out of Texas. I liked him his junior year. His senior year didn't show up as much, but I think I like him. And as far as the free agencies, they got Chris Thompson, who has chemistry with their now offensive coordinator, Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden.
Yep.
And I like the linebacking core now with the addition of Joe Schobert, pairing him with Miles Jack. I think that is something to look forward to on their defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What you think?
Obviously there's been a lot of talk this offseason. I mean, you mentioned your Eagles, but with Yannick Ngakoue on defense, they franchise tagged him this offseason, and there's been rumors with him not being happy there, him wanting out and being on a trade block. So that's I think is a big key to kind of watch. You mentioned Chaseon coming from LSU. Great value there. I think if it wasn't for the back issues, he's probably a top 10 pick. So to be able to get him where they got him at, like I said, it was great. But when you think about losing Jalen Ramsey not too long ago, AJ Bouye being traded to the Denver Broncos, you trade Calais Campbell away to the Baltimore Ravens.
Keep going.
Obviously now the trade away Nick Foles and to get something back for him, especially with that contract, you got to give them credit for, because they made sure that they got that kind of done before anything else fell, and they were kind of left holding him with no options. So to be able to send him to Chicago and to get something back, like I said, was a good move, especially if if they're planning on at least really moving forward with Gardner Minshew, at least to see what they have in him this year before the draft comes up next year. But like I said, overall, like I said, their defense has taken a step back. If they end up trading Yannick, if they end up trading Yannick, then what happens to that defensive line?
I mean, he already said he's not playing.
Right. So I mean, you get a very inexperienced defensive line where previously that was kind of that was one of your strengths for your team. So to no longer have Calais Campbell, to no longer have Yannick, to kind of come in and bring in a lot of these, younger players in. They drafted Devon Hamilton from Ohio State in the third round to play defensive tackle. It's just, like I said, it's a lot of moving pieces. You have a quarterback who had some good times. I think the fan base, fell in love with Minshew, but is he a franchise quarterback? And that's what is going to be interesting to see. Now, DJ Chark, I was big on him a couple years ago when he came out of college.
Yeah.
He turned the corner in his sophomore season. So
yeah,
I continue to expect a lot of big things from him. And if he can take that next step, I think that's definitely going to help Laviska Shenault. And especially being the size that he has at receiver, may be able to really specialize in like the red zone or in key situations, or just to take advantage of different matchups, knowing that DJ Chark maybe will get the better cornerback from a team or things of that nature. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think they're a team that's going to finish in the bottom of the division again this upcoming season because they didn't get enough. I don't love the Jay Gruden signing as offensive coordinator. I mean, he obviously didn't do well at all as head coach. I mean, some people are better, at coordinator than they are at head coach, but it's just not it just wasn't a signing that I was in love with. I think they could have went a lot of different ways. So, I mean, then you also have the Leonard Fournette situation.
Like all these head scratching decisions, like
you don't pick up the fifth year his fifth year option, and you draft a running back in the first round, and one that's been pretty consistent and good, like to decline that fifth year option, I just don't get it. So like you said, a lot of head scratching options, but those decisions is exactly why this team is where they are.
Yeah, and not even, I mean, on top of the fact they didn't pick up his fifth year option, you hired an offensive coordinator who loves to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna run the heck out of him, and then not pay him. I mean, he still can get an extension, but
like you said, then that offensive coordinator brought in one of his running backs. So you wonder how that's going to play with some of the carries and already trying to get on his back. Like it's just an odd situation all in all. And like I said, I don't think at the end of the day it's really going to play out well, especially when a run game should be what you lean on when you have a young quarterback like a Gardner Minshew.
And they got young receivers too.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? The oldest one they have is D.D. Westbrook, and he only got drafted 3 years ago.
Right. Now they did bring in Tyler Eifert from Tennessee.
Oh,
not from Tennessee, but from Cincinnati. So to help out and be that security blanket for Gardner Minshew as well. But like I said, I
just don't know, man. I just to see this organization to be one good decision away from being in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
One drive, if they just ran the ball down, away from being in a Super Bowl to just going on a decline and every year losing talent, losing key pieces, losing talent, and now it's kind of
it's been a quick and fast fall from the AFC Championship game a couple years ago.
Yeah, you went from you had one glaring weakness, which was quarterback, and you had too much ego to say, hey, all right, look, this ain't working. We'll get somebody else in here. Now you got somebody else in there. What's the teammate there?
Right.
Yeah. So, let's move on to the Colts, man. I'm tired of talking about the Jags.
Let's do it. So let's see with the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, we're obviously that their offseason really leads starting with Phillip Rivers and him coming in, signing I believe a 2-year contract, as well as the big trade for DeForest Buckner, which I thought was a great deal for them. Buckner is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. Acquiring him at the end of his rookie contract and extending him, like I said, to pair with that defense that has been a young but improving in good defense, to add him up, to add him to the front. Like I said, that's just a solid move overall. When you talk about their draft, obviously they traded away that first round draft pick for Buckner, so they didn't have a pick into the second round, but they did have 2 second-round draft picks. And to be able to grab Michael Pittman from USC and Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, were just great pickups to me. Michael Pittman, if you're not familiar with him, he has size. A lot of people kind of are comparing him to a potential Mike Evans-esque receiver. And if you can get something close to that, that's going to be a home run of a pick. And Jonathan Taylor is just, he's exactly what you want in a football player. He's going to bring his lunch pail. He's going to go to work. To the yards he racked up over his 3 years were more than anybody else in college football. And like I said, so for him not to be the first running back pick and for you to be able to get him at pick 41, to me is another steal. And to be able to add him add him into the backfield with a Marlon Mack and to really kind of have that dual threat there to help out Phillip Rivers, that's going to be a nice little dynamic right there.
Yeah, I think they answer like just a lot of questions, and like none of these draft picks or pickups, none of them just made you think like that doesn't even fit their style. You can argue Xavier Rhodes, but they still got a young secondary.
Yeah. And Xavier Rhodes is a 1-year deal. You know what I mean? Not worth much. So like, why not bring someone with that experience who maybe teams feel like has lost the step and see what he can do there? I kind of compare it to if you go back to a couple years ago with the Cowboys, you had Terrence Newman as a corner for the Cowboys who had some good years, and then towards the tail end of his time in Dallas, it seemed to be on a decrease, but then he left, and he still had some solid years. Play, I feel like sometimes like it's just how you fit him in your system, how you fit him in your scheme.
Personally, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, personally, I think they need to go ahead and transition to safety because as far as he has lost step, and it's like not only did they answer questions, they answer future questions too. Because Jonathan, this is last year Marlon Mack's deal. Also, and so you got a running back like Jonathan Taylor and the value they got him at, and even they share this year, he don't need a whole lot of carries. Boy, run a 4.3. Then also you got Jacob Eason, which. As far as like I guess his pro readiness, that's still a question, but there's not a throw on the field that he can't make.
Right.
He had the biggest arm in the draft class. And I even like to pick up Trey Burton. They got him for a cheap deal. He's familiar with Frank Wright, time with the Eagles. They needed tight end. My only question is
losing Eric Ebron, they definitely need to fill that spot.
My questions are can people stay healthy? Like, can Kenny Moore stay healthy? Before last year, Kameko Toure, he was having a good year, and so can he stay healthy? And was last year just an aberration for Phillip Rivers, just the way he played, or can Frank Wright get the most out of him?
Right. Phillip Rivers sometimes has that gunslinger mentality and can sometimes turn the ball over if he can limit that, especially with the defense he's going to be inheriting there in Indianapolis. The run game he'll have, like I said, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch. You spoke about being healthy. Can T.Y. Hilton continue to be healthy? So it's definitely going to be an interesting year. I know a lot of people have high expectations, especially since Phillip Rivers signed to them. I think a lot of it's just going to, they just have to take it one game at a time, though. That they're in a division that, I think could potentially be up for grabs. Depending on how Houston and how Tennessee, rebound from last year. Does Tennessee start to feel themselves too much and overlook, the work you got to put in to get back to that point and kind of fall asleep at the wheel a little bit. Is Houston going to take that step back? And we'll get to Houston later. But you bring in a quarterback like Phillip Rivers. I think a lot of people expect them to win and win now. They're going to be in games. And I mean, obviously, like most teams, is going to come down to what their record is, I feel like, in those one possession games.
And the last point I want to make about the Colts is that I like the position coach move they made. They brought in former offensive coordinator for the Eagles, Mike Groh. Now, he wasn't the best coordinator by any means, but he was a really good positions coach, a really good wide receiver coach. He was that with the Eagles when he was a position coach. He was that with the Bears as well. So I think you got some out of Michael Pittman. If you can, like Mike Groh, this is the same person who had Alshon Jeffrey for the Bears when he was at his peak. So as far as performance-wise, so if you can do that and then you get some out of Paris Campbell and even Zach Pascal, I think that they got a good pickup there.
No, definitely. So like I said, so we'll move on from the teams that did make the playoffs and go to the teams that did make the playoffs. And we'll start with the Titans. So I believe, a lot obviously going into this year. If you go back a couple years ago, they draft Marcus Mariota, who they thought was going to be a franchise quarterback. Continued to struggle this year, and they make the switch about halfway into the season for Ryan Tannehill, who I think a lot of people have wrote off. And Tannehill comes in and has a good second half of the season. He strings together some games. He gets them winning. He gets them going on a winning streak. And you got Derrick Henry running the ball all over people. And we saw what they were able to do throughout the playoffs. Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill both went into this offseason as free agents. And Derrick Henry was tagged. Ryan Tannehill was able to receive a deal, but they were able to get a few other people also. They bring in the Vic Beasley, they bring in the Jonathan Joseph, and then in the draft, after losing Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle and free agency, to replace that with another offensive lineman in the first round of the draft, I felt was a very good decision and move for them, especially when you built that team off of the run game. So to draft Isaiah Wilson in the first round, I thought was a solid pick, and then they followed up in the second round and was able to grab Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU, which I thought was another good value pick.
That was a really good pick.
A lot of people had him going in the first round, so for you to be able to scoop him up at pick 61 overall, late in the second round, it was just a solid pick.
Yeah, that was good, especially with them losing Logan Ryan. So that's good. Personally, I feel like Vic Beasley never fit in Atlanta. Besides that, his rookie year when he had all them sacks, but I feel like he never fit in Atlanta. So I think him going to actual 3-4 defense would be beneficial to him. My question is, one, how do they replace Jarrell Casey? Because that was a key part of their defense. I know they have Jeffrey Simmons, who no one thought was going to play this year because of the injury he had and how late he had it, but came and played very well. And then how did they create without Derrick Henry? They got one at receiver. They got one, and AJ Brown. That boy cold, man. But how do they create without Derrick Henry? Now it's really hard to stop Derrick Henry, consider his size and his speed as well. But
I think it's something. Obviously they drafted Corey Davis a few years ago, and you hope that he kind of takes that step up. He's going to be needed Adam Humphries was solid for them in the clutch in a lot of third down situations at the slot receiver. So they can kind of continue that, but get more out of consistent play out from Corey Davis. I think that's what you're looking for when you're talking about creating outside of Derrick Henry. Now, the thing is, to me, is they lose Dion Lewis, who complimented Derrick Henry and was their pass catching back. Does the running back that they drafted from Appalachian State come in, and can he fill that role? That's what's going to be very interesting, and I feel like a big ask for Darrington Evans.
I don't know, because Dion Lewis, what was that? 2 years ago, he was getting a lot of work, and then after it's like Derrick Henry heard about the trade rumors and became man on fire. Like Dion Lewis barely seeing the field.
Yeah.
Like he was watching the field. He wasn't on it too much. But so yeah. But I think one thing I didn't factor in when I said that previous statement about how do they create is that Ryan Tannehill gets an entire offseason with the ones. So creating that chemistry is very important. But again, 13.
You know what's interesting
very
to me is
peculiar.
What's interesting to me is you have a team here who's very run heavy, and remind me of a team that's building the way some of the AFC North teams are building. With kind of that run first offense, but without the tight ends that you see in Baltimore, without the tight ends that they have in Cleveland. I think that's just a weak spot for this team where they could use an upgrade and it's something that they're missing on offense.
Shoot, Derrick Henry play tight end too.
Hey man, his size, man, he definitely could.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it'll be another interesting year. I don't quite know what to expect for a repeat from this squad. But it's going to be interesting to see, and it's going to be interesting to see who becomes victim this year to another Derrick Henry stiff arm.
Yeah, I think Earl Thomas still feeling that one.
So let's go to what we're all here for. The Houston Texans. You want to take this one, or you want me to take this one?
I want to start off with a question. What in the Chip Kelly is Bill Bryan doing?
Listen, I'm not sure what he's doing, but I can't find the deal that he offered Arizona in any of these stores outside right now, and they giving away stuff for 50% off, 60% off of COVID, and Arizona still got the best deal of all of spring. Like
yo, all them trades he made, you can't even make them on Madden.
Nah, they're coming back to decline. You better have the trade override option on. That's the only way. That's the only way that's getting approved.
Not only that, when you propose it, you got the bar. It's
going to say
you get about that much.
Not interested at all. That's what it's coming back to you guys. But
yeah, man.
For the people who are not familiar with what all has transpired in Houston, they traded away DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, for David Johnson in a bag of peanuts.
It's popsicle sticks.
Yeah. Then to replace DeAndre Hopkins, they then trade for Brandon Cooks and trade way more to get Brandon Cooks than they received to get DeAndre Hopkins. And Brandon Cooks is not DeAndre Hopkins. Solid player, solid receiver, but this is now his fourth team in five years.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a lot of like I said, they caught everyone this offseason by surprise by the move of DeAndre Hopkins. And it's just interesting to me because you have one of the best upcoming quarterbacks in the league, and you give away his best weapon and for little to nothing at that. So I don't know how that makes your team better.
Yeah, I was running down the trade history of Bill O'Brien since he became, I guess you call it GM. I don't know. We're gonna use that term loosely, but trade away Jadeveon Clowney, who was gonna report, but for a third round Jacob Martin and Barkevious Mingo, and so the impact of that, they went from the previous year being the number 1 rush defense to the 22nd rush defense. Traded for
not to mention Barkevious Mingo was I believe released this past. His contract was up, but I don't think he's on.
No, they didn't resign him. They didn't retain him. Mm-hmm. And then you got Julian. They traded for Julian Davenport 2 first rounds, a future second round for Tunzel, a 4th round, and a future 6th. They traded a 3rd round for Jerron Conley. They also traded a 2nd round for Brandon Cooks and received Cooks for like a 2022 4th rounder.
Let's not forget before the Laremy Tunzel trade, they traded away their tackle to Seattle, which made them.
No. But no, I didn't include that because he wasn't GM at the time.
Yeah.
But then they traded DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson, and this that crazy asinine contract that he has. Got a 2nd round, future 4th, and be comparative. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best in the league statistically, and I mean, just when you're on the field, he dominates. I mean, Jalen Ramsey was talking to Patrick Peterson on live and said, "Look, I hate y'all got him. I thought I got rid of him by getting traded." And so, to comparative, the Vikings got back a 1st, a 5th, a 6th, and a future 4th round by Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, but he is good, but he is not DeAndre Hopkins.
Not DeAndre Hopkins.
So that is, I don't know what like I said, these are Chip Kelly moves. I know that all too well. And so I don't know what they're going to do on defense because they lost DJ Reader, Jonathan Joseph. They lost 1,000-yard rusher in Carlos Hyde. They lost to Sean Gibson. The only pick they got, that they made in the draft was Ross Blacklock.
Yep. I mean, that's really –
only one.
They didn't really answer any of their questions in the draft. They didn't answer any of their questions really in free agency. I mean,
you know what? They ain't had no picks to make in the draft. They gave them all away.
But the thing was, Bill O'Brien also came out and said that he traded away DeAndre Hopkins to 1, better the team, and to 2, better their draft position. And you don't come back with a 1st round draft pick.
And so yeah, my question is like, what is that locker room saying? Seeing all these key players to go one after the other, after the other, after the other, and I mean, granted, they still on. Hold on, I'm not gonna say that because we don't know what the team look like without DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has had so many different quarterbacks, yet he has always been on the field. So we don't know what the Texans look like without DeAndre Hopkins. They got Randall Cobb, older. I mean, just decent slot receiver. We still serviceable at his age.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're doing, but I'm gonna say this for offensively, I think they still be all right.
It all comes down to, can they stay healthy? They have quite a few people in that receiver locker room that unfortunately has had some injury prone issues over the past few seasons. So it will, when you had a DeAndre Hopkins, you have somebody that can make up for, if Will Fuller or Kenny Stills misses a game. Will Brandon Cooks be able to do that? Will Randall Cobb be able to step up and carry a little if that were to happen? If they're all able to be healthy and you're able to put out on the field, Brandon Cooks, Kenny Stills, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, and you can get more consistent play out of a Kenny Stills, because I think Will Fuller, when healthy and playing, we've seen what he's been able to do. Now that has been opposite of DeAndre Hopkins. Will Brandon Cooks will he demand the same type of double team that that D-Hop was getting, which was allowing Will Fuller to maybe take benefit of some of the matches he received. So that's what's going to be interesting to see. But Deshaun Watson to me is, like I said, one of the best quarterbacks in the game right now, and we've seen what he's been able to do without an offensive line his entire career, basically. So it's going to be interesting to see, how he continues to play, and as well as David Johnson, another person when we talk about injury prone, you trade away D-Hop to get David Johnson, who's had some injuries and hasn't been able to be that running back that he was very early in his career because of the injuries. So you get rid of a Carlos Hyde who signed with Seattle. You don't bring back a Lamar Miller, and like I said, you're going to run with David Johnson and Duke Johnson. So we'll see if that's going to be enough, and if David Johnson can kind of replicate what he was early on in Arizona.
Yeah, and he was on the field last year. I think he fell out of favor early with the new coaching staff. But looking at this, there's a lot of speed on his receiving core, and it takes the top off before it creates a lot of space. So and maybe David Johnson never recaptured what he was, but if you can get him and Duke Johnson 500 yards apiece, 1,000 yards rushing, I think that's good. And Deshaun Watson, if my team is playing the Texans and it's a one possession game, I don't want him to have the ball last. Yeah. My question moving forward is, how do they, without premium picks, how do they build this defense with all these holes and a shrinking cap? Because Deshaun still got to get his money.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a lot of holes in this defense.
Yeah, this is a defense that, they did bring in a couple cornerbacks this offseason, and Bradley Roby and Vernon Hargreaves at corner. So we'll see how they can mesh. Obviously, they have Garyon Conley as well. But we'll, like I said, that's the secondary. But besides J.J. Watt up front, who can also have his bout with injuries, like I said, what is this defense going to be? Is it going to be all on the offense? Can this defense put something together and really help the offense and not be a crutch? So we'll see what Houston does. But like I said, I have all the faith in the world in Deshaun Watson. I just wish he had a better head coach and GM to help him out.
Yeah, and J.J. Watt doesn't have any more guaranteed money on his deal. And he did say something that he wouldn't mind meeting up with Khalil Mack in Chicago if he does leave Houston. So, and I think I'll have to look at it again, but I think they're projected to have like $12 million in cap space next year.
Yeah, I haven't been able to look to see what deals maybe they're able to get out of or anything of that nature, but yeah, they're not in the greatest situation. Obviously Tunsil got a record deal for tackle, and Watson is due for a record deal at quarterback. So they're going to have to continue to draft well, but like you mentioned, they don't have a ton of high draft picks.
They don't have capital. So so who do you think? I'm gonna ask you a tough question. Who wins this division?
Who wins the division?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, let's backtrack. Let's talk about who had a good draft for all season. Then we can say who wins this division.
So draft. I will go with draft. I'm going with the Colts.
Okay.
As far as you gotta go with the. Because I'm also going to include them trading that first round draft pick away for DeForest Buckner in their draft grade. So if you figure out with their draft picks, they were able to get like I said, Buckner, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, Justin Blackman at safety, a potential quarterback for the future, and Jacob Eason. Like they checked a lot of boxes off in a division that a lot of teams didn't have first round draft picks, didn't seem to really draft with any kind of strategy. So to me, the obvious answer here is Indy, at least from a draft perspective in the offseason.
All right. So who wins the division?
Who wins the division? I just think Deshaun Watson is a bad man. Like, I mean, I think a lot of times it comes down to sometimes quarterback play. Who's the best quarterback on the field? And in the division, there's not a better quarterback than him. There's other teams, could Tennessee run the ball and keep them off the field or things of that nature. But I'm gonna hang my hat on Deshaun Watson to be able to get the job done this upcoming season. Who do you have? Who do you have as the winner going into 2020?
For off season.
For the off season and to win the division.
Yeah, the off season. I'm gonna go with the Colts as well. It's really hard to argue with everything they did. Like there was literally no head scratching moment. As far as who they picked up and who they acquired and what they didn't address, there isn't a head scratching moment. That being said, I'm gonna pick the Colts to win the division. I think no, everybody has the same head coach. I'm gonna say something about continuity, but I just like how all the pieces fit. They know what they're gonna do. I mean, granted, the Titans gonna run that ball, but I just feel like I don't know something about the Colts. I just like the synergy they created this offseason. They got all good picks. They got somebody to fortify the defensive front. So, I like the entire offseason. So, and I think it translates well.
You got Indy. I got Houston. But speaking of Houston, I know you wanted to touch on an article from the Houston Chronicles.
Oh yeah. So shifting gears, was that Sunday front page of the Houston Chronicle? Because if those of you who don't know about the killing of George Floyd in Minnesota, however, George Floyd was originally from Houston, and it came out with a picture of him, and it said, "Imagine if we had embraced Colin Kaepernick's peaceful protest and paid attention to the issues he was trying to address. Imagine if we could be working towards change instead of witnessing the chaos, anger, and violence in our streets. Imagine, because this was exactly what Kaepernick was protesting, not the anthem, not the flag, not the military, but unchecked police brutality against people of color like George Floyd in our country. Imagine." And it follows with a picture of Colin Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was so powerful especially in the city where the Houston Texans owners said, you can't have the inmates running the institution. And then he retracted that statement and apologized for it. Then he retracted his apology. And so pairing that with what Roger Goodell said, and I'm going to read that as well, speaking out against that. The NFL family is greatly saddened by the tragic events across our country. The protesters' reaction to these incidents reflected pain, anger, and frustration that so many of us feel. Our deepest condolences go out to the family of Mr. George Floyd and to those who have lost loved ones, including the families of Ms. Breonna Taylor in Louisville and Mr. Ahmaud Arbery, the cousin of Tracy Walker, Detroit Lions. As current events dramatically underscore, there remains much more to do as a country and as a league. The tragedies from the NFL's commitment and our ongoing efforts. There remains an urgent need for action. We recognize the power of our platform and communities, and as a part of the fabric of American society. We embrace the responsibility and are committed to continue the important work to address these systematic issues together with our players, clubs, and partners. And that was from Roger Goodell. And I don't have it up, but the San Francisco 49ers also said something. So
it's
tell me what you feel, man. How do you view this?
I laughed when I saw the NFL post what they posted.
Why?
because I don't believe they're I don't believe a lot of the words there are true that they mentioned within their post. I think we all want change, so I'm not going to sit here and say obviously because of the Colin Kaepernick situation that they now can't turn the corner and start to do better, and that they aren't trying to put certain things in place. But I think to me it's completely ignoring also, like I said, Colin Kaepernick and take fault for your mistakes is kind of where I'm at with it. The Niners tweeted out what they tweeted, and if you saw, Eric Reid is a free agent right now. Who obviously was one of the key players that was standing alongside of Kaepernick. Yes, he did get another deal with the Carolina Panthers, and he played pretty well in Carolina, but is now a free agent, and things like that make you still wonder what's going on. And I think he responded, because to their blackout tweet, did you mean black ball? Because of the situation basically that happened with Cap, and to your point, like you said from the Houston article, if the NFL did was right, and with the Kaepernick situation, we could be further along right now because you would have had you would have had an ally, you would have had a backing to help maybe make some positive changes. If a lot of these organizations were on the side of justice, and we're on the side of what's right, and we're on the side of Cap, we could be further along than what we've came in these 4 years. If a lot of the players around the league would have stood with Cap, would have knelt with Cap, would have backed Cap when he was being blackballed out of the league, we could be further. So it's just interesting. I saw a tweet earlier this week that said if America acted like an NFL locker room where all different types of people can come together and get along, we'd be a lot better. And while being a football player, that's something that I can agree with. That's not something that the NFL locker room showed when Kaepernick was fighting this battle by himself. He needed the rest of the league. He needed the star players. He needed the rest of the minority players. He needed key players. Drew Brees, somebody to help stand with him alongside of him to help push what was going on. And now you're getting more people to come out now, which is awesome. But like I said, a lot of this could have been used 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's sad that so many people looked at how he was doing it rather than why he was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see the NFL say what they said, the commissioner and specifically the 49ers organization, it's really disheartening because it's kind of like, hey, yeah, it's like they just ignored the fact that Colin Kaepernick, like, its existence in the NFL. Like, no one said anything. And 49ers to, well, we're going to donate $1 million. Like, that's chump change, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's disgusting, to be honest with you. And so, I mean, you have, and people, as far as like taking the knee, but you got NFL owners who are adamant about expressing how they feel. I mean, some of them may not have come out and said anything. So, like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owners, felt about players kneeling. But I know how Jerry Jones felt.
Mm-hmm.
I know how Bob McNair felt. I know how Stephen Ross felt, and it was kind of like it's like you have all these players in the league, and I'll take it back to when he was doing it. It was always, oh, stick to football. This is not the place for that. It's not a place for politics. It's not a place for that. Like, stick to football. It's like, shut up and play. However, when that huge hurricane came through Houston, no one was telling JJ Watt to stick to football. So it's unfortunate to see this happen in a league where there was literally a player telling you, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we have something that we need to do. And for them to issue this statement is disgusting. To me, it's like, I mean, I love the NFL, but I hate how this was done.
A league that's still dealing with a lot of racial issues. Whether, like I said, we spoke on the Rooney Rule on here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an issue that has this problem. So to come off to present that statement, like I said, to me, we're discussing it was tone deaf and a slap in the face. And what we want to see is real action. I don't want to see words from you, especially when we've seen what your action has been. So now it's time for them to really show what they're trying to portray on paper.
Yeah, and as imagine, a lot of us have been having a lot of conversations just with everything that's been going on. One thing that I've been wondering is, like, are some of is this a safe face with your fan base? Is it trendy? Will you still commit to whatever 6 months from now?
Right.
What will you be doing if a player decides to kneel now? Will they be worried about their job security? I remember Jerry Jones said something about, like, if you don't stand, you don't play. And it's kind of, like, you want me to put on this uniform, represent your organization. However, there's a uniform that I can't take off. I wear it every day.
Yep.
And I have to represent this community. It's the team I always played for. The team I played for before I became the organization. I played for long after I leave your organization. And so for me, just looking at these statements, it's kind of like, all right, if you want to talk about it, or you gonna be about it. Like, talk. We all know talk is cheap.
Yeah, I mean, and Philadelphia was the only team I saw from the NFC East that had released any kind of statement. You haven't received a statement from Dallas, which unfortunately is not surprising. From Washington, which is definitely not surprising. From the New York Giants. So, like I said, from one of the biggest divisions that's followed in NFL, like I said, and overall, I think you only had about half the teams / owners actually post anything. So you're missing about, like I said, half the league from even responding to a big situation right now. But like I said, more than just a tweet, more than just a comment. I need to see action going forward. And like I said, we need to hold them accountable to. We talked about the minority coaching committee and things of that nature. Like, the NFL has to continue to make progressive steps with actions, in our words.
Yeah, and yeah, man, that's all I got on that. I mean, because I don't want to get on a tangent, but
Nah, man, same.
Keep us at just as keep it what we kept it to, because it was give our opinions on everything that has been going on, but especially with this, it's the one, like, I love football, I love the NFL. It's just the one part that is really sad to me.
Absolutely.
Considering how much of the people of color, however, it's not reflection in the coaches, the execs, the owners,
the actions,
and right, and it's kind of just because you can't. It's because that you can't actually empathize with something or see something because it doesn't relate to you. There are still people who are close to you and people that you represent that feel this way. And everyone doesn't have the privilege to cut this off at the end of the day.
Yep. Like I said, I mean, I think that was well said. Like I said, we just wanted to briefly touch on that situation, and especially the comment released by the NFL. But thank y'all for listening to what we had to say about the AFC South. We'll be back with the NFC South next, and the rest of the division to follow, and more content regarding MLB and NBA, especially as they try to come back from this COVID and whatever else is happening in sports news. So we appreciate y'all. Until next time.
Love y'all.